Assalamualaikum and welcome back delegates to the fourth episode of our Monday Month modules. In this episode, we will focus on the art of negotiation and resolution writing. As we know, MUN is not just about discussing issues, but also about taking action to find solutions. In order to do so, delegates need to know how to write and negotiate a draft resolution. Today, we will be providing you with a step-by-step guide on how to write a draft resolution and present it to the committee. Before we dive into the specifics of writing a draft resolution, let's provide a brief overview of what a resolution is. A resolution is a formal document that outlines solutions to the issues being discussed in the committee. Solutions consist of two main parts, perambulatory and operative clauses. A draft resolution has two main parts, the perambulatory clauses and the operative clauses. The perambulatory clauses provide the background, context and rationale for the operative clauses and are usually numbered with the prefix PP. The operative clauses outline the specific solutions and actions to be taken on the issues and are numbered with the prefix OP. A typical draft resolution will have several perambulatory clauses and operative clauses, but the number and content will vary depending on the issue and countries involved. Perambulatory clauses. The perambulatory clauses are the preliminary statements that describe the background, causes, and the reasons for the issue being discussed. They help to set the context for the rest of the resolution. Here are some examples of perambulatory clauses for the example agenda item of Role of Developed Economies in the Pandemic. Reaffirming the importance of global cooperation in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, recognizing the impact of the pandemic on all countries, particularly developing countries with limited resources, taking note of the efforts made by the developed economies to provide aid to developing countries during the pandemic, acknowledging the need for further action to address the disproportionate impact of the pandemic on vulnerable populations. The operative clauses are the action-oriented statements that provide solutions to the issue being discussed. They should be clear, concise, and achievable. Here are some example operative clauses for the same agenda item. Calls for the international community to provide increased funding and resources to developing countries for the purchase of medical supplies and equipment. Encourages the creation of a global vaccination fund to ensure equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines. Urges developed economies to waive the intellectual property rights on COVID-19 vaccines and treatments to allow for wider access and production. Calls for the implementation of measures to protect vulnerable populations such as increased access to healthcare and social protections. Now that we have a clear understanding of the different parts of a resolution, let's talk about how to write a draft resolution. The following steps will guide you through the process. Identify the issue being discussed and research possible solutions. Write your perambulatory clauses using language that is relevant to the topic and aligns with your country's stance. Write your operative clauses focusing on actions that are feasible and will help to address the issue. Check your grammar and syntax to ensure that your resolution is clear and easy to understand. Present your resolution to other delegates and be prepared to negotiate and make amends. Once the draft resolution is complete, it is time for the delegates to start the negotiation process. During the negotiation process, delegates will work with other countries to gather support for their draft resolution and try to incorporate other delegates' ideas and suggestions. Here are a few tips for the negotiation process. Reach out to other countries. Start building alliances by talking to other delegates and find out which countries share similar views. It is easier to get support for your resolution if you have more countries backing you up. Be open-minded. Listen to other delegates' suggestions and try to incorporate them into your draft resolution. Remember, the goal of a MUN is to work collaboratively towards a common goal. Use appropriate language. During the negotiation process, use appropriate language and avoid any hostile or confrontational language. Instead, use diplomatic language and express your views in a respectful manner. Be flexible. Negotiation is all about compromise. Be prepared to make a few changes to the resolution and be flexible in your negotiation. Once negotiations are complete, it is time to present the draft resolution to the committee. The committee will go through the draft resolution clause by clause, and each clause will be discussed and amended if necessary. A resolution is made up of two parts, the preamble and the operative clause. The preamble includes the reason for addressing the issue, while the operative clause contains the proposed solutions. Here is an example of a draft resolution for the agenda item, Role of Developed Economies in the Pandemic. Be sure to give it a good read. Remember, the drafting of a resolution is a collaborative process. By working together and being open-minded, delegates can craft a resolution that effectively addresses the issue at hand. Tips for writing a great draft resolution. Research the issue. Before you start writing your draft resolution, make sure you understand the issue at hand. Research the topic thoroughly and consider the views and positions of all relevant parties. Use clear and concise language. Your draft resolution should be written in a clear, concise language that is easily understood by all delegates. Avoid using complex or technical jargon that may confuse others. Use correct format. Your draft resolution should follow the correct format, which includes the perambulatory and operative clauses. Use perambulatory clauses to establish context. Perambulatory clauses are used to establish the context of the issue and should include relevant historical, legal, and political consideration. Use operative clauses to outline proposed action. Operative clauses are used to outline the proposed action to be taken in order to address the issue. Each operative clause should begin with a verb and should be clear and specific in its intent. Consider the interests of all parties. Your draft resolution should take into account the interest of all involved parties, not just one of your own countries or groups. It should aim to find a solution that is mutually beneficial for all parties. Be open to compromise. Negotiation is a key part of the resolution process, and compromise is often necessary in order to achieve a consensus. Be willing to make amends and consider alternative proposals and find common ground with other delegates. That said, ladies and gentlemen, we hope that this episode has provided valuable insights and information that will assist you in preparing for the MUET conference, and hope to see you in MUET 2023.